see anyone here yet.
Okay, so we are now going live onto YouTube, so you can start.
We're good. All right, welcome everyone to the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting, August 25th, 2020. In attendance tonight, it's myself, Mike Ergo, Nita Kincaid, Selectman, Bob Carlson, Selectman, Christine Dias, Admin Finance for the town, and we are here in person tonight for the first time in a while, so obviously, the public's still not able to come to meetings, but we're so happy for those who have taken the time to join us online. I know more will be joining us as we go along. It is practice at all of our meetings to allow for public comments as we go down the agenda on each item. However, if there are any public comments on non-agenda items, we ask for those at the beginning of the meeting, and we ask that public comments are limited to 2 minutes in respect for everyone's time and the time for the items we have on the agenda. With that being said, we would ask if there are any public comments on any non-agenda items. If you are on the phone, you would hit *9 in order to raise your hand. And if you are on the computer, you will just hit raise hand. I think most people are familiar with that. And I see the first comment is Brett Mastriani. Brett, you are recognized.
Hi guys, Brett Mastriani. I just wanted to check on the status or ask about the petition that was handed in on Friday requesting a town meeting to go over whether the town should lease the old middle school, as we don't feel that it falls under.
Yeah, that's an agenda item number 7, so we'll hit on that when we get to that one, Brett.
But the petition is different than that meeting, but I'll wait to talk about it then.
Any other comments? I see another hand up with the, let's see, 9358, last 4 digits. That person is recognized. You may speak. Not coming through. I don't know if we can't hear you.
You said it was 9358?
Yeah, 9358. Yep. There. Okay, you're up now. You just have to unmute your line. Just have to unmute yourself, and you'll be able to offer your comment if you have one. Perhaps you raised your hand accidentally, which often does happen as well. So 9358 last numbers, not seeing you unmute. So we're going to assume that that was an accidental hand raise, which is no problem at all. We'll continue on with the meeting. The first item on the regular item for the meeting is drawdown requests. So we have the packet in the Selectmen's packet. You have 2 letters from 2 of our lakes here in town, Wyosip Lake and Billings Lake, requesting that we request a drawdown of their lakes. This is something that has been done, not in our tenure actually, but has been done over the years, and they detail in their letters why they're looking to have this done. I actually attended a meeting at for the Wyosip Lake Association on Sunday, and they actually had pretty good attendance, and they had representation actually from Blue Lake and Billings Lake there as well. And our state reps were actually there, which was great as well. Senator Summers and Representative Rotella were there to kind of hear feedback from the residents of the lakes. But basically, they're looking for us to approve the drawdown requests, and then it goes to DEEP for the actual approval. So, of course, not being an environmental expert, though I'm an environmentalist, I don't want to. I certainly wouldn't want to do something that was counter to what would be environmentally friendly, but that's really not our judgment anyway. It's really up to DEP to decide whether or not this is an appropriate action to take. So really the only action from the selectmen would be that basically to request the drawdown request from DEP should they feel that it's appropriate to do so.
Do we know if the selectmen have ever denied this before in the past? And secondly, I don't live on the lake, I rarely use the lake, so what drawbacks would there be? What objections could there possibly be to perhaps have approved this move on the DEP?
So my first concern about it, Bob, is it has been done before, first of all. So the selectmen would have had to approve it. And I don't know if Christine, in the file, you saw any of those prior approvals, but.
I think the last time it was approved was 2015, 2016.
Yeah, I saw the one that was 4 years ago, so, but I can't imagine what the objection would be, so I don't know why. This seems to like it'd be pretty automatic when DEP has the final say anyway, so.
I think DEP wants to see us do this first before they would act on it, since it's in the town, although the state actually is the one who oversees, you know, all the lake maintenance and the boat launches and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, as far as like the detriments of doing it, you know, from my concern would certainly be environmental, but that's what DEP oversees. So I'm not going to try to make a judgment on that. That's, you know, that's how.
So I would say that if we made a motion and then open up the discussion, if there's anyone, since we allow people to speak on agenda items, if there's anyone on the line that has a reason why we shouldn't do it, I can't imagine it would be, but you never know. So I would make a motion that we do approve the drawdown schedule as presented to us by the lake associations to forward on the DEP to let them make a final decision.
Okay. So go ahead, Nita. Yes.
So what they want us to do is to coordinate with the DEP for them. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, they want us
That
to.
should be in there.
Yeah, they want us to forward this to DEP.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then, so like actually and they said this at their meeting, at least Wyosset Lake, they're more than happy to do actually anything to help make this happen, including volunteering for whatever tasks may need to do with regards to this. But, you know, DEP are the ones that have to come with the key, you know, actually open up, you know, the dam, all that kind of stuff. So it's not up to the town to do any of that, but it is up to us based on past practice and based on what we think DEP is looking for, is for us to send this letter basically saying, okay, we're okay with this as long as you guys are okay with this.
And is this last year's money or this year's money? Did some of last year's money never get spent on?
All of last year's money was given to the 3 lakes.
It was,
Yes.
but did they use it? I thought there was some issue about them using it.
Wyosset Lake changed the type of product they were going to use,
I noticed that.
but they still did it.
Okay, thank you.
So,
There's a motion.
I was gonna say Bob has a motion.
yeah, you have a motion, do you? Before a second, generally I'd open it for public comment.
Do that before the-
Yeah, before the motion, if that's okay.
I should second.
No, hold off, if you're okay, holding off on the second, let me just open it up for comment if there are any. I see a hand up and I don't know if it's this,
It's the same one.
it's the person from before and it might not be related, but we can recognize 9358 phone number, and you just need to unmute. Just make sure.
Hey, it's Gary and Eno. I was desperate to get into the open comment, so not on this topic.
Oh.
You can ignore me.
Oh, no problem, Gary. Because we did recognize you prior, you know, certainly if you want to make an open comment, or we're going to talk about the lease situation under agenda item 7. So I don't know what you're.
No, this is just, I just wanted to inform the selectmen and Christine that I would be providing some survey results reflective of the note that you sent out about speeding in the village and whether there was consensus about it or not. But I'll send that out today or tomorrow to the 3 selectmen and Christine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Back on mute.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry about the technical issue there. I see a hand up, and I'm wondering if this is the chief, based on the name there. You are recognized, NSVFC.
Yeah, Charlie. Question on the drawback. Is that going to be all lakes at one time? And what are we doing it for? Is there no benefit to that?
Thanks, Charlie. So I can only speak based on, my limited knowledge of, what I've kind of heard about it. But so first of all, from what Senator Summers had said at the meeting on Sunday, is that although this request is being put forth now with the hope of being able to do it this year, she felt that based on her knowledge and her experience, that it's pretty likely that this won't even happen till next year, based on that they're backed up and this kind of thing. Of course, we don't know any of that to be true. I'm just telling you that's what was stated. So as far as like the reason for it, so I don't know if they would do them all at once. That's really up to DEP. I don't know how they would manage it or whatever. But I know the reason for it is I think it's to help control some of the invasive species and a number of other reasons, that really to clean things up.
Okay.
There's a number of reasons that the lakes would like to see this happen. Yeah.
All right. That was going along with the weed control, because these lakes are basically our main sources of water for fire protection throughout the town. So if we drain them all at once, so you're really going to put a lot at risk with that. So.
Oh, let me be clear too. That's a really great point, Charlie. They're talking about a 3-foot drainage maximum on the lakes. So it's not a major drainage. They wouldn't have, actually DEP wouldn't approve, from what was discussed on Sunday, they would be very unlikely to approve anything much more than that anyway. So it's not like they drain the lakes completely.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for the question and clarifying that. Yes, Bob?
No, I was just gonna say, it makes sense too, that Charlie wouldn't want the lake full of invasive species and he's trying to draw water out of it and then hose it again. So
Correct.
kind of in the long run.
Yep.
We've had that problem in the past.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Okay, so not seeing any other comments on the topic. Bob, you had a motion on the table. So did you want to go ahead and second that now? Okay. So basically the motion was to send this to DEP with our approval, pending their approval. Okay. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 3-0-0. Next item is our update from the fire chief on the per diem staffing and the tanker. So just we talked with Chief Steinhardt and thought it would be great to have him come back to give us an update on where they were at with regards to the per diem staffing, and while he was here, talk a little bit about the tanker to see where that was at. So I know Chief is on the call. You are a panelist now, Chief. Thanks for taking some time to join us tonight and give us a little bit of an update as to where things are at.
All right, so we had, for the 3 per diem positions, we had 10 applicants that applied. We did interviews. We selected the 3 best candidates that fit the needs. They've been hired, and the start is September 1st. They've been gear sized, and they're basically ready to go, schedule set up, and that's moving forward. Our 3 candidates have extensive fire service background. One is a lieutenant in the City of New London Fire Department. Another one's a lieutenant in Yukon Fire Department. Another one's a specialist at the Mashantucket Fire Department. So the 3 individuals that were picked are very knowledgeable candidates. So we're looking forward to working with them.
Great. On that topic, did the selectman want to ask any questions about anything?
So
Go ahead.
So my only question is, so the money that went into the budget is going to be split across 3 people? Is there?
Did you hear that, Charlie?
Yes, so there's three people that were hired, but there's only one person working per day. So it's three individuals to fill the one spot for the 5 days of the week. So we're only paying for one person, but it would be split up across the three people.
That's what I thought. That's why I
Okay.
just made sure that I was correct. Thank you.
And my understanding, after talking to Chief about it, is very qualified individuals. So it sounds like we're pretty fortunate with a caliber of talent that they recruited. So good job to you and the team, the hiring team, Charlie.
Thank you.
It's great to hear. Do you have an update on the tanker?
Yeah, I actually talked to Greenwood today. The tanker is scheduled to actually, the cabin chassis to be at E1 within the next 2 weeks. From that point on, we're on schedule for delivery in December. They, once it gets to E1, we will have a live feed that I can share with the three selectmen that can actually watch the truck being built through the process. And then on every Friday, they send us photos of specific things that they think interested to us, so we know it's being built the way we want it to be built.
Say we're gonna receive.
The cabin chassis, would you say 2 weeks, Charlie?
Yep, should be at E1 in 2 weeks. So as soon as they know, I will send off an email to the three of you, so you're up to date on when it's there.
He said we'll get it in December.
December, I put notes in September.
December, yeah. Which is fine. Okay, do you have any concerns about it, or everything going well?
No, everything's good. The only thing is we had built in the inspection trips to go to Florida. That's not going to happen now because if we go down there, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks, which isn't feasible for us because we have to go our jobs. So there's going to be a virtual inspection there, and then the actual final inspection will be at Greenwood in Massachusetts. So we'll do the final one in person at Greenwood.
Do they, is this, and maybe this is a question you could go back to them with, but I know those inspection trips are part of the whole process of a tanker, but, or any truck that we buy, but since they're not having to have us to go down there, is there some sort of credit that comes back to us?
I would definitely going to be asking that one because I thought the same thing. So there should be probably a small cost savings, but I will email him that after this meeting and get an answer for you.
Great. Selectmen, have any other questions?
Just while we have Chief on the line, if you want to give us a little bit of an overview or synopsis of where we are with the EMS committee that's meeting twice a month.
Charlie, do you want to speak on that, or are you more comfortable having the?
I couldn't really hear him.
He was asking about the committee, the emergency services committee that you are serving on, along with Tricia, Sarah, Carl, and Jim. Did you want to give any sort of update on just where the work is at, or would you rather the chair do that?
The chair should do it, but we're moving along. We have a survey put together. We have a lot of information that we've collected. So moving the next couple of weeks, that survey should be going out to all the area departments that we've basically pre-selected to interview, and then we'll be getting a lot of information back. So it's moving forward. Everybody's working hard.
Can you tell me when the meetings are? I'm a little confused. I know it was a moving target for a while. There were 4, then there were 6, and they were canceled. And I keep getting reminders that there's a meeting, but there isn't one because I think she's got it in the calendar. So when are you meeting and at what time typically?
I honestly can't tell you. I don't even know. So I know there's 6 o'clock on, I think they were supposed to be Wednesdays. But again, some are conflicts have caused some issues, but you'd have to defer that to the chairman of the committee to answer that directly for you.
Thank you.
I know they just kind of made a change and I have the same thing in my calendar. There's a meeting.
Coming up, but there's no-
It's not a meeting then, so well, I'll find out from Tricia though.
I'd love to start attending it, but I just can't find them.
Yeah, when they are, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Nita?
No, I actually also got the invitation for 4 o'clock again, which is what you were talking about, which was their original
Yeah.
numbers. And I know that Sarah was trying to clean all of that up, and I thought it was done, and I don't know why that reappeared again.
Yeah, it's somehow it's like embedded somewhere in
Yeah,
a recurring invite that just needs to be deleted. So, is there any public comment on agenda item number 4? Okay. Chief, thanks for taking the time to give us this update and all the work you guys are doing over there. Really appreciate, if you really could pass along to the whole crew, all the work you're all doing, especially with all these storms. It seems like every other day, COVID, it's just never ending. So we just truly appreciate all the work that you and the entire team are doing, okay?
Not a problem. Thank you for the time.
Yep, thank you. Okay, on to agenda item number 5. We have not met since the equality and inclusion panel discussion that happened. And just wanted to have a kind of a recap discussion on that. If there's anything you guys wanted to talk about, really, Bob, thank you for kind of taking a lead, helping out, make some of that happen, especially with some of the panelists. And it was, I think it was great.
What I attended I watched the whole thing, and I thought it was great also. I was glad there was a good mix of panelists on there. There's a lot of different points of view. I think everyone was very respectful of each other. I thought the facilitator did a wonderful job. You can tell that she does that, in another life, because she's so good at it. You never once could tell where the facilitator stood on the topic, which is what makes a great facilitator. She's not supposed to give her a quick opinion. She's supposed to make it move, and it moved well. Everyone spoke well. A lot of good points. I thought there was some compromise that happened during it, which was great. Which is what you want, for people to understand the other point of view. So I thought it went well.
Nita?
I would have to say almost everything that he said already. I just wondered if it is going to grow in size. It was a very small group. I guess they ended up losing one person near the end and so forth. I don't know if this is something that they're going to continue doing or bring in different people or what the approach is going to be. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think that's part of, so there was a survey that went out after, and so I think kind of looking at the results of the survey to see what the community feels is helpful.
They had 17 people or something, am I remembering correctly?
In attendance.
How many?
In
In
attendance.
attendance, yes, that's what I wanted to, they do have that.
The most that we had at one time was 20 people
Were there?
on the attendees side, along with the 6 people that were in the panel.
Okay, so.
Do we know how many surveys have been completed?
I don't have that. We did close the survey just yesterday, so we'll get that information to see how many surveys and what the feedback on. I mean, I think that's the key is, what does the community want? I feel like given, following the protest or the demonstration, this was in a lot of ways kind of a healing event for some of the folks that were involved, which I think was really helpful. And as you said, Bob, it was like kind of like an understanding and people kind of coming to understand others' points of views. And that was really the point, I think, was, hopefully we could just do a little more listening. And so are you, I mean, I guess based on what the feedback we get from the surveys, we'd be flexible on seeing something more.
Yeah, I'd like to see the facilitator stay involved in some way, because she seemed very knowledgeable and did a great job. So she's from town, which is great.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would be, if she would accept input with regards, well, I mean, I know this is really her program, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking there are other topics that she could put out on some kind of
Discussions.
I
think that was the point of the survey.
And thereby attract different people each time for a while to see, what was going on. But I did get the sense that the people that were there that night wanted to do it again. Did you, Bob?
Yeah, I spoke to one of the people, and they were very hesitant going in, and then coming out, they were very happy that they did it, and they would do it again. Yeah, so I think there's always hesitation. We need something new, but it went so well that I think everybody seemed pretty comfortable in what they were saying and doing.
Yeah, I have to credit the panelists for having the courage to do it, really. I mean, it was a very, you know, obviously a controversial, you know, situation in the town, and some of the things that had transpired were difficult, and for them to, you know, kind of step up. I thought it was really, you know, courageous, and it was great. It was really, I thought it was really great, one of the better things that we've done, so.
Like, you can say, will you ask someone that's watching the meeting to how they, I'm having trouble hearing Nita, so I wonder if they're having trouble hearing Nita?
Yeah, well, I'll ask if there's any comment, and then if someone would just let us know if you can hear everybody okay. Maybe they can't hear us at all since no one's saying anything. They just have to raise their hand if anyone would. Yeah,
We can hear them very well.
go ahead, Galaxy S9. We just got to pull them in and ask, you just have to unmute.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear? Yeah, can you hear us all?
That's one of the comments I was gonna say. I can hear you, Mike, but Bob and Nita, I can't hear very well during the meeting.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and this is Kathy White.
Oh, hey Kathy, great. Thank you for that. Thank you for participating.
So I just wanted to say that I was one of the panelists and I'm glad I took the opportunity to do that. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but I will say, I do have a question. They videotaped that. Is that going to be put out? So, cause I think it would benefit somehow that some of the other, if some of the town could watch it to see how it went and see that we all had a perspective, but we were very respectful, because I do agree after the protest, this was a very healing way, and Denise was amazing. She was, as a facilitator, I think it's very beneficial for our town. So,
Yeah, so we did record it, and actually I will touch base with Denise because we wanted to be respectful of all the panelists, and we didn't like stream this event or anything like that. But we did record it in the event that all the panelists felt that they would be okay with it being put out there. So let me follow up with Denise so she can check with all the panelists. And I guess
Okay.
if there's a consensus, we can certainly post it to our YouTube channel, and then folks could watch it. Because you're right, Kathy, like Christine said, I think we had 20 or so people, but I think the whole community could benefit from seeing just, you know, the respect and just the event itself. It was really great. Thank you again for participating.
and like I said, I was very hesitant going in because I was afraid, like some of the situation that happened at the protest, I didn't want it streamed, but after seeing it and being part of it, I think it would be very beneficial for our town. So I hope that the other panelists feel the same way as I do. So thank you.
We'll make a note to check in, and if so, we'll get it posted. Thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
And she was having trouble hearing us. How can we get around that?
You guys need to speak up.
We have to talk a
You-
lot louder.
You have to speak up.
The microphone has an 18-foot radius that it can pick up.
What I can do, Nita is the quietest. I can put the speaker over there, so it picks her up better.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'll
I
talk louder.
don't know that the cord is long enough to
Okay.
connect to the computer.
I'll speak loud too.
All right, just try to speak up a little
It's
bit.
the problem with social distancing. If we were all sitting in a row,
You would hear us
it would
fine.
be a little bit.
Well, when we did the regular Zoom meetings before this, when we weren't present, we all were very, you know, audible.
Because we're at our own.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So unless there's a benefit that comes out of this type of meeting, I wonder why we would not go back to the meeting. So I think it's gonna be a trial and error.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
only seen you in person.
No, this is joyous. All right, seeing no other comments on agenda item number 5, number 6 is the department review status update. You know, we were all there at the Board of Finance meeting, and they did not affirmatively endorse the request for the department review. We all, including Christine and Juliet, feel that this is a really beneficial thing for the town. What I thought in hindsight now is to see if there's potentially the opportunity for a grant for this, just to not give up on it. So I do have Craig looking into that, and especially given the all the work that the government structure committee did, that's a lot of pre-work that lends itself to the possibility of a grant, if there is a grant out there. So rather than just, so we haven't informed the bidder that we weren't doing it yet. So let's try to see if there's a grant available and kind of go from there. And then I'll report back on this at the next meeting to see if there's any update.
Great idea.
Yeah, I actually credit Dan Spring. He was the one who thought of it, so it's a good thought. Any comments or questions on agenda item number 6? Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 7, the hearing meeting discussion for August 31st. So, well, first of all, Bob, you can give an update as to where things are at, since you're with regards to the leasing. I don't know if you want to
include what we heard today or not, or just go with what I was involved in prior to that.
You can talk about everything except for negotiations piece of it. So you can include what you heard today.
All right, so
just speak up as loud as you
so
can.
myself and Gary, and the attorney, Christine present, spoke in terms of how they wanted the negotiations to go. We were comfortable with the decisions we came up with the square footage pricing, the future plans down the road, the years involved, some out of the box thinking on what could happen with the school down the road, whether it be leasing, purchasing, and so on. And we felt good when we went back to the attorney, and he went back, wrote everything up. Apparently made a proposal to the attorney that was representing the other group. And from what we've heard today is that at least one of the groups, the coastal school, has actually taken a step back. They want to reevaluate their position. But when they make their final decision to go somewhere, it's going to be for a while, and they want to make sure they're making the right decision. So what I gathered by the correspondence was that if the school's still available down the road, they may come back and look at it again. But right now, they're looking at all their options. The school year starting around the corner. As far as the second group, the Lighthouse group, I have not heard back from them. I had mentioned in an email to Mike that he has no conflict of interest with that particular group. So if you want to reach out as a first selectman to see where they stood on the proposal. And that's where we are right now. So
I can give just a short update. And I did reach out to their representative, which is the realtor that they were working with, and they actually, in fact, are still interested in pursuing this without Connecticut Coastal. So, so that's good news. So basically, I've put him in touch with the town attorney, and so they're going to talk about those same things that you had discussed, what you had asked of Connecticut Coastal. So, so that will all kind of transpire hopefully very soon. So it leads us to the topic of agenda item 7, which is the meeting. And so we do have a hearing meeting scheduled for next Monday, which we already advertised for. And based on the conversation I had with their representative today, Lighthouse will be prepared to give a presentation about what their use would be for the building. So that way the public can hear about it at the meeting and kind of hear about what Lighthouse does and how they would intend to use the building. So it looks to me like things will be able to continue to move forward. And to the point of the initial public comment with regards to the petition, there was a petition that came in really at the same time we were having our meeting on Friday morning. asking for us to call a town meeting, which we did in that meeting. So like at the same exact time that we were calling for a meeting, a petition had been circulated to ask for us to call for a meeting. So everything is jiving for the Monday evening meeting, which will allow us to hear from the potential lease partner, as well as the public on their feelings about, leasing that section of the building.
Looking at, I just really saw it today, but looking at the petition and what the petition was asking for was a town meeting. And what do we call for a town meeting? Do we call for a selectmen? Because they're run differently, right? So how do we satisfy the petition if it's a selectmen meeting, not a town meeting? Maybe Christine can answer that.
So in accordance with Executive Order 7JJ, we cannot have a town meeting right now. So that's why we called for a Board of Selectmen's meeting to be held in accordance with Executive Order 7JJ. And just like the one we held back in May for the solid waste ordinance, we will still take public comment before you would take any action if you choose to take action at that meeting. And it is what we can do under the current executive order for a town meeting.
So how do
We
you-
cannot have a town meeting right now.
So the petition is, I'm gonna say that they're probably gonna say, well, we asked for a town meeting and not paying attention to the petition. So how do we answer that question?
Say that again, I didn't get
So
that.
if the petitioners are asking for a town meeting and Christine said we can't have a town meeting, then we're almost at like a stalemate. Like, we can't have it, but they've asked for it. How do you handle that petition?
Well, it would be invalid if it's illegal. I mean, the attorney's not here with us tonight, so I'm not gonna get into too much comment about that, but the attorney should be in attendance at the town meeting, hearing. All I can say is, like I've tried to say through the last 6 months, we're doing the best we can. I mean, this is not anything that any of us wants. We don't want to be sitting here like this, not with public in the room.
Oh, I get it. But when we spoke on Friday morning, I think we all were in somewhat of agreement when I made a motion to go to a referendum.
Right.
So can we call for a referendum in a special meeting of the selectmen? That's not a town meeting.
Yes.
So possibly, and it sounds to me, I didn't write the petition, I wasn't on the petition, but it sounds to me like the petitioners were looking for reports. That's why they're asking for a town meeting. If ultimately we have a referendum, then we are giving the petitioners a voice, a very good town voice. So I will probably still at that meeting, since we already have it ready to go, re-motion that motion.
Yes, so you can, at that meeting, you can motion to adjourn the question to a referendum vote to be held on September 14th. That's the date that you guys want to go forward in accordance with Ledge-Light's go ahead, which I know.
And I just got an answer from them today. I don't know if you saw it. You saw it.
I saw that.
Where they said we were in our rights to have the meeting. They suggested it'd be nice if you have not the meeting, the vote. They said it'd be nice if you have it outside, but obviously that logistic doesn't work for us. But they said as long as we're respectful and did all the proper distancing, spacing, and if we had any questions, the specific questions, they would answer them. But it sounded to me like they were fine with us having a referendum.
So do both of you, Mike and Bob, think that we're far enough now with the one group that would be going into the building? Will we know enough after this meeting and before we go to the referendum as to whether it's appropriate to move forward? That's.
If you look at the petition, the petition's calling for a town meeting to give us the ability to negotiate and eventually lease out the building, the middle school building, right? So it's not that you have to have that. To me, it doesn't sound like you have to have an agreement in place. It's just that the town's giving us the ability to negotiate to lease out that building. They're not saying, no, you can't lease it out. It must come down and you can't lease it. The question is, can we lease out the building? And if you look at the top of the petition, sorry, that's what it called for.
But isn't that just that particular offer that?
No,
Didn't
It
say
is
that.
not.
Position didn't say that.
In other words, people will vote that it's okay to lease it, and they will leave it up to us to make the decisions about whether the suggested route is appropriate, and the residents would have no input for that.
Well, the residents can't negotiate a contract. I mean,
No,
they can
I know.
approve a contract if that's how you want them to do it, but I think we have to, this is not easy, because I understand some people are really antsy and they want to vote. They want to vote on something. They feel like we need to give them their voice, and I don't disagree with any of that. The problem is a couple of things is, we have a private entity that, we have to look at this from the other side. We want them to feel like we're arms wide open. Hey, we would love to have you in our town. And so sometimes these meetings, that doesn't really, I mean, certainly last meeting was an example of that. I mean, and I think may have contributed to one of the people pulling out. I mean, but how do we, but it's a town building. So we have like all this to kind of weigh. And the other thing about this, in my opinion anyway, is that this topic normally probably would just get resolved at a town meeting if we were able to have a town meeting, right? This isn't something we would spend the resources on to send a referendum. It costs money to send it to referendum. We have to get poll workers for all of this time. We hope we can get the poll workers. We have to put people's health at risk, even though we'll be safe about it. There's a lot of things to consider. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things we have to kind of vet out and discuss. Yes, Christine?
So, the way I would look at it is just like when we sold the condo at Holly Green,
Yeah.
the town gives the approval for the public in town gives the approval for the town to sell it. The public didn't pick who was going to buy it. So we know we have to follow deed restriction, and the town has to have the confidence in the board of selectmen that they're going to lease it appropriately to an appropriate party to make sure we can cover expenses on that building.
So, all these things we should discuss in the meeting.
I think we'll know a lot more during and after the meeting on the 31st.
Yeah. And we want the public's input. I mean, that's why we have these meetings. So, I mean, we look forward to hearing from the public. And I think, as we've laid it out, the opportunity exists to potentially get revenue for the building. And the counter to that opportunity is that it's going to cost money to tear the building down. And the building sitting there and doing nothing really isn't a good option, although a lot of towns have buildings that just sit there for years. It's not something we're looking to do, so, no.
But just one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, but all right, if this went well on that day, et cetera, and then after that, it fell through, you are saying we would have already put forth enough to just begin again and not have to go up to another town meeting.
Yes, so like, if you're saying, for instance, this group, now let's remember, it's a little bit of a needle in a haystack, like how many educational groups are there out there? But if this group were to fall away, and we've already received from the town, whether it's the Board of Selectmen voting or a referendum, we've got an affirmative, no, we would not need to go through that process again. We would just potentially rebid it if we wanted to, and then look at the new suitors.
Even if the type of education was greatly different than this one, let's put it out that way.
Yeah, we would, in my opinion anyway, based on what the Wheeler
I
Library
agree.
said.
So we have a deed restriction that we're using as a guidance.
I
So
understand.
I think as long as we hit that, we do that, then we're fine.
Yeah, education.
And we should keep Wheeler Library in the loop too. I think it's important to keep the, Ms. Brento in the loop so she knows what's going on, because there are neighbors over here, and they're gonna wanna know. So, just make sure this, and I gave her a call after one of the negotiation meetings, just to say, not about what we negotiated, but just say, hey, we're doing this, I want you to let you know, Kate, that this is where we're at. So,
Yeah, good, thank you.
All right, thank you, both of you, thank you both.
Yep, good. Comment, is there public comments? I see one comment from Brett Mastriani. You recognize?
I just wanted to check on, so we're talking about the petition. I got my,
I'm sorry, Brett, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Oh,
Hello?
yes, that's much better.
All right, sorry. I guess my comment's multifaceted regarding the petition and your meeting. So the petition is calling for a town meeting to be able to vote at a town meeting or send it to a referendum. And 7JJ specifically on the bottom is what you cited for the reason that it was a selectmen's meeting and not a town meeting. And it says, nothing in this order shall be construed to prohibit a municipality from conducting any in-person meeting, approval process, or referendum in a way that significantly reduces the risk of transmission of COVID. So
Brett, that's why Ledge Light said that.
7JJ does a lot.
Referendum vote.
What was that?
That's why Ledge Light says we can have a referendum vote if we choose to, but we can't have a town meeting.
So Ledge Light says we can't have a town meeting?
Because you're talking about putting 100 people or more into a small space.
Yeah.
That's not appropriate with COVID right now.
Yeah, the problem is we don't have a mechanism to we don't know how many people would show up to a town meeting, so we wouldn't be able to properly prepare for that. And unfortunately, you know, through technology, you almost think, well, maybe you could, you know, utilize a polling system, which is something we could consider, not necessarily officially, but like through, I know it's not official and I'm just spitballing here, but you could poll participants if the selectmen wanted to just get a flavor for what the participants in the town meeting thought on Monday. But yeah, we just can't know how many people would show up in an uncontrolled environment like a town meeting, unfortunately. So again, that's why we've been doing the best we can and navigating each of these decisions as carefully as possible.
Right. So if it went to a referendum, we can safely do that. And I guess my other part of that question is, on Friday, when you guys had your meeting, you initially made a motion to have a town meeting on next Monday. And then once the announcement went out, it went out as a special selectmen's meeting, which are two very different things. So how was that motion amended by the person that made the motion? And then was it seconded by all members of the board, or seconded to then vote on it as a special selectmen's meeting compared to a town meeting? Because I didn't see that when I was listening.
We'll go ahead now. We'll go ahead and touch base with the attorney to make sure everything's legally processed correctly, Brad.
Okay, it's just like I said, it's two very different things, and you know that would, if it went to a meeting and then a referendum, then I would think that would somewhat satisfy the people's voices being heard. And I appreciate your comments and Bob's comments earlier about trying to make something work where the people's voices can be heard on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any other comments on the topic? Okay. Oh, I see a hand. Brian, go ahead, Brian, you're recognized. You just have to unmute.
Yeah, well, I think you know where I stand on it. I've been very upset about not being able to vote. And I think a topic like this, especially with that school, that has been such a contentious thing in the town. And it does involve all of us. It's a big decision to make. And I don't want to see any hasty decisions, but I really do urge the selectmen and anybody else in Connecticut that are in office or whatever to petition that knucklehead of a governor, ours, that put this executive order in, because to me, that's taking one of my rights that people fought for. And basically only one of the rights we really have a voice on. So when town meetings go on and everything else, and what do I got? I'm just a low life taxpayer. So I'd like to see something done as far as really going and I don't care if we have to get all of North Stonington, go up to Hartford and protest. That seems to be the thing to do now. But I really want to have a vote or a real say on what happens at school, because I thought I already did one. And that's my comment on that.
Thanks for your comment, Brian. I don't think you're a low-life tax player. I think you're a great man. Appreciate you coming to the meetings. I believe that's Gary. You recognize Gary?
I just have a little bit of a concern with one of the respondents dropping out because, you know, neither one of them met the intent of the RFP. I believe this potential tenant only wants a fraction of the 26,000 square feet that's available.
Gary, can I just stop you? I don't want to get into negotiation discussions in a public meeting. That would be executive privilege. So I just want to caution you just carefully about whatever your comments are.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure if this is going to go to a vote, or a referendum, whichever way it goes, and I trust you to do the right thing there, that we are fully transparent about how much of the space would actually be consumed by this decision. Because
Yes.
neither one of the respondents complied with the RFP. Thank you for listening. I'll go back on mute.
Thank you for your time, Gary. And thank you for helping through the process with your expertise. Truly appreciate it. Okay. Moving on then, seeing no more comments. We have minutes from August 11th.
As usual, I have a motion on the minutes. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Zoom meeting on August 11, 2020, as submitted by Christine.
And I second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:53. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come to the meeting. Have a good one.